All right, so how do you find a registered agent near you? My name is Matthew Newsom. I'm an attorney licensed in Iowa, and I'm here to help small businesses manage their risk. First of all, what is a registered agent? If you have a business like an LLC or a corporation that's registered with the state, then you must have a registered agent. This is legally required in all states. A registered agent is a person or a business that can accept service for you. And what do I mean by service? Service would be, for example, accepting legal documents. If you get named in a lawsuit, or if law enforcement or a government agency needs to reach you, they're going to serve you papers, and they need to have an address that they can serve those papers to. A registered agent is probably not the same as your post office box. You do not want to send your mail to the registered agent. They'll charge you if they do that. And maybe you do want to do this. Maybe you want a registered agent service that can actually receive mail for you. And that's fine, but by default, a registered agent is just going to be available to accept service for you, and then make sure that you get those important legal documents. There's different options that you have for having a registered agent. If you have a side gig and you want to keep your costs low, then you can list your home address as your registered agent. That's perfectly acceptable. Some people don't do this because they do not want their home address to be public, but a lot of people, they don't care. Their business really is not going to get any negative or unwanted exposure. And so listing your registered agent as your home address is fine. If you have an office or a retail location, you might want to use that as your registered agent. Especially if you're open normal business hours, then it's really no problem to have someone in your office accept service for you. And then the third option that some people do is they hire a registered agent service. This is a company who will keep staff available and accept service for you during normal business hours, and you typically pay a fee. This is nice if you want to keep your personal information or your office address private, if you don't want those listed. And so let's talk a little bit more about why that would happen and what would go on here. So first of all, this information has to be public by its very nature. An attorney or law enforcement or a government agency, they have to know this information. And also likewise, a member of the public, they have to be able to look this information up. And so they go to, for example, in Iowa, the Secretary of State website, and they do a business search, and it'll list your registered agent address right there. And so that's good, that's fine. Now they know exactly where to send those documents to. The main reasons why I see people that don't want to use their personal home address or even their office address is for privacy reasons. I deal with a lot of real estate investors and landlords, and they don't have an office or anything like that, and they don't want their tenants to look up their home address and come knocking on their door every time there's a problem. So they might want to use a registered agent to keep that information private. If you have an office or a storefront, you might not want your employees accepting legal documents for you. Maybe you're afraid that they won't be kept confidential. Maybe you're afraid they'll get lost. For example, if you are a restaurant and you're busy, then you might not want the papers to get spilled on or misplaced. Or you simply might not want your employees to know or to ask questions about these legal documents. So those are good reasons why you might hire an outside registered agent service. You have a couple options for an outside registered agent service. For example, if there's someone that you know and trust who tends to be home a lot, you could ask them for permission to accept papers on your behalf. I have met many young entrepreneurs who used a parent's address as a registered agent service, with their permission, of course. You might also want to rent a virtual office space. For example, Regus is available all across the country, and you can rent virtual office space there, which gives you numerous things. For example, you can use their office space now and then, maybe a few hours a month if you want to meet with somebody in a conference room. Typically, they will receive mail for you, which is a nice perk, and it's usually not a P.O. box, which is good if you want to get listed on Google, since you can't use a P.O. box as your business address on Google. And then also, too, they typically have a receptionist available in case you have a client that just wanders in or a customer that just wanders in off the street. Surprise. The receptionist will say, oh, yeah, that person's not here right now. Can I take a message or schedule an appointment for you? So that's very nice. So virtual office space is definitely a fine option, but do make sure that they are okay being a registered agent for you. And also, too, virtual office is not going to be the cheapest option. If you want the cheapest option that is a commercial service, you're probably going to want to use a registered agency. Like in Iowa, the least expensive one that I know of is called iowaregisteredagent.com, and it's about $50 per year. And all they do is registered agent. They'll do a few things like file important documents for you, like your LLC biennial report. But for the most part, all they do is accept service for you if you get served important papers. There are additional registered agent services that provide other value. For example, Northwest Registered Agent is $200 or $300 a year, and they provide the same service. But you might wonder, well, why would they charge 4 or 5 times as much as Iowa Registered Agent? Well, Northwestern Registered Agent is available all across the country, and if you have LLCs or corporations in multiple states, then you might want to use just one service, and that way you can go to your one dashboard to receive documents rather than having to go, oh, this is the Iowa one, here's the Nebraska one, here's the Illinois one. You can just go to one for all of them. So that is a valuable upsell that they can do that you might not get through the cheapest option. Now, how does it work if you use a registered agent service and they receive documents for you? Well, most of them will simply scan those documents in and send you a digital copy. And then if they do receive more than a couple documents per year, they'll probably charge you a fee to do that service, which might be worth it. Or if you don't want to pay extra, you might just think about using a post office box for your mail. And that does bring us back to the question that we started with. How do you find a registered agent near you? And the answer to that question is you might not need to, because a registered agent service is a highly specialized service that you typically only need if you're receiving legal documents. For example, if you're getting sued or if you have an important aspect to a real estate transaction. And since most businesses don't do this very often, they hopefully never get sued, it's possible that your registered agent service is basically just an insurance policy that you never actually use. So you might not need a registered agent near you. However, if you do, I would probably start by looking at the virtual office options like Regus and see if they'll provide registered agent service for you and how much they charge. Once again, the Regus in my town, it's about $80 a month or $90 a month. And you do get a few hours of conference room space, which can be really nice because it's a very professional environment. And there's a few other services, and I make no money by recommending these. I simply am telling it as a service to my viewers. So thanks for watching. If you need help setting up a LLC or corporation, I strongly suggest talking to a lawyer, and therefore I suggest talking to me, Matt Newsom with Iowa Business Lawyer. Thank you.